A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
On that day, Jesus went out of the house and sat down by the sea. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood along the shore. And he spoke to them at length in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell on the path, and birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky ground, where it had little soil. It sprang up at once, because the soil was not deep. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and it withered for lack of roots. Some seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it. But some seed fell on rich soil and produced fruit, 100 or 60 or 30-fold. Whoever has ears ought to hear. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Whoever has ears ought to hear. So these words have really caught my eye in the Gospel today, because they really demonstrate the reality of our Christian Catholic lives very well. Whoever has ears ought to hear. The saving message of the Gospel is something that is meant for all peoples of all times. It is something that each one of us is obligated to proclaim. Something that we must proclaim at the top of our lungs to every living creature. Our Lord says it himself today, whoever has ears ought to hear. Now, this question then becomes, does this mean that we must all proclaim the gospel verbally? And while we should proclaim the gospel and speak about Christ when we can, in every way we can, that's not where it starts. It starts by allowing our lives, our Christian lives, to be shown forth. Not for our own benefit, but so that Christ may be glorified and that others may see him in us. It can begin with something as simple as wearing a cross, as making it known, not when people ask you, where are you going? Well, I'm going to Mass. So allowing in our interactions with people, our family and our friends, allowing the love of Christ, the love that he gave himself up on the cross for us, allow that love to be seen in what we do and how we speak. It can be that simple. Now, the proclaiming the gospel, preaching the word and our Lord, something that priests and deacons are especially called to in a certain special way, is something that we're also called to. But you can't go there first. You can't jump there without having this first step. Once you have that first step out of the way, once you have that down in a certain sense, which ultimately is a lifelong journey, then we move to actually speaking the word, actually proclaiming Christ, and not being afraid to speak about him. This stuff can be very daunting at times. But the words of Pope St. John Paul II really come to mind here. He was often quoted as this, I think, but it's something we've probably all heard. But be not afraid. Be not afraid of anything that people might say. Be not afraid of what our own inadequacy about speaking about Christ or proclaiming his word. The scriptures are full of times which people have said, I am not worthy to proclaim this, find someone else who is more worthy of this. And then God makes us worthy. None of us are worthy of this, especially Deacon Jacob and I are not worthy of the office to which we've been called. Not in the slightest. But our Lord has made us worthy. He has made us worthy of this great gift. And he made each one of us worthy to proclaim his word. Because we do so in and through him. So as we go about our day, let us always remember that he who has ears ought to hear, must hear this message. And we are the ones who must proclaim that message to him, of him to his people, and to those who have not yet heard him. So that we also might be that rich soil that the gospel has taken root in, and produce fruit, 100, 60, or 30-fold.